Well, tonight we're following up with California leaders as they finalize a plan to try to remove several Republicans who currently represent the state in Congress by redrawing California's congressional maps. I caught up with California Representative Zoe Lofgren, who leads the group of Democrats who represent California in the U.S. House of Representatives. They have been meeting to discuss this redistricting plan. California right now has 52 seats in the U.S. House of Representatives. 9 of them are represented by Republicans. The rest are Democrats. Lofgren confirmed to me today the plan is to redraw districts into more Democratic-leaning areas to try to unseat 5 of those Republicans. Here's part of my conversation with the Congresswoman.
There are questions about what representation could look like, and especially here we have an assemblyman who's a Republican who yesterday expressed that he's hearing that his district, which right now is represented by Doug LaMalfa, could include parts of Marin County or like more coastal Democrats who may not have anything in common with someone in a rural district like his. Just your response to that, and if that's likely.
Well, the Assembly Speaker announced that they will release some tentative maps next week, so I'm not going to step on his lines. But I'll say this, that the Independent Commission did some combinations. For example, my home is in San Jose. It's an urban, one of the largest cities in the state of California, and they combined San Jose with King City, a population of 11,000 people. Now, it turns out I like King City a lot, and I go down there and meet with the people, but it's not unheard of that rural areas are combined with urban areas. And I'll just tell you from my own experience, I spent a lot of time with the new rural areas because there is a lot of need in those rural communities that I'm trying to meet.
So you see a benefit to opening up more coastal Democrats to seeing those areas?
Well, I'm not, as I say, I'm not going to step on the Assembly Speaker's lines, but if you take a look at how you might match what Texas is doing, we have to be open-minded. And I just using my own experience, I didn't have hardly any rural areas before the last commission drawn maps. And now half my district is pretty rural. It's agricultural. And it's been a treat for me to get to know those people. Right. I think the intention, this is a one-time emergency, and that we would present to the voters. Ultimately, the voters are going to decide whether or not to change these maps. And there will be hearings, and there'll be a public process in the state legislature. It's way more transparent than what's going on in Texas and some of these other places. And if the voters decide to adopt these maps, that would be it until the next census.
California lawmakers are expected to release the maps at some point next week. They have not said when exactly.